This is the E-commerce Edge podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The E-commerce Edge with me, Jason Greenwood, your host. I've got another incredible guest lined up for you today, Mr. Shane Barker from TraceFuse. He is the founder and owner of TraceFuse, been doing this for 3.5 years. Welcome to the show.
Man, Jason, thank you so much for having me, man. I've been excited about this. I've been watching, listening to your guys' podcast and thought maybe one day I would be an honored guest. And here I am, just in front of you in the flesh and blood.
Look, I'll take that as the compliment that it is. I super appreciate it. It's awesome to have you along for the ride with me today. You guys are involved in something that has become nearer and dearer. I was never a heavy Amazon user down in New Zealand because Amazon doesn't operate in New Zealand. Now they ship cross-border from Australia to New Zealand now, but for many years they weren't in Australia either. That's a recent phenomenon in the last 5 years. They've been operating in Australia. I didn't understand until I moved to Mexico. I didn't really understand this whole Amazon thing. I didn't understand, like, why does everyone love Amazon? Why does everyone use Amazon? Why? I just don't understand the fascination until I moved to Mexico, and all of a sudden I became a big fan for lots of different reasons. One of them being that you can get stuff on Amazon here that you can't get. It's difficult to get any other way. And it's also super trusted. You're 99% of the time, you're going to get the goods that you order off Amazon. You're going to get it eventually. It might take a little longer than they say, but you're eventually going to get it. And so very cool. But before we get into what TraceFuse is and does, why don't you tell us how you came to be in the wonderful world of e-commerce, full stop?
Yeah. So I really started off in the e-commerce space a long time ago. I jumped into, I just turned 50, literally, like just this last weekend. So the reason I'm telling you that just means I'm old and I've been around for a long time.
I'm way ahead of you. I turned 51 on Halloween, so I'm 1 year ahead of you.
Man, I'll never catch up to you. That's all right. I'll try though. I'll do everything I can to scrape and try to get to that Halloween. But yeah, really what I've done, I've been in the space in e-commerce, online SEO, building websites for 20, probably 30 years. It's been ever since the internet was around. And so and I did influencer marketing for a long time, taught at UCLA, helped create the curriculum with a friend of mine, Amanda, over there. So anyways, I've had this long history, but e-commerce has always been there, right? Who doesn't want to sell stuff online and convert, and the world is my oyster and you can sell all kinds of products, and great. We did a lot of direct to consumer stuff and had a lot of clients that were doing that on shanebarker.com, which is my main website, obviously, where I do a lot of education, writing about just anything in the digital space. And what that actually transformed into is I was doing a lot of stuff for my clients that were direct to consumer. And then they wanted to be on Amazon, and some of them were on Amazon. And so the e-commerce thing I've done, like I said, pretty much from the beginning. Obviously you get new things that happen and new softwares and all that. And that's why I enjoy the space, is because there's constantly something happening, right? But the way that we jumped into TraceFuse was, once again, direct to consumer. Amazon said, hey, what is your guys' biggest pain point? And they said reviews, right? And so that's how we jumped from, hey, conversion-based stuff, which we still do a lot of that, and then really looked at and said, hey, what can we do to help the current clients that we have? And that's how we snuck into the Amazon space, and that's how we started doing the review thing. I have a crazy background. Like I said, I used to own a bar in Chico, California, and I have this history. I forget half the things that I've done just because I'm getting old and we forget everything as we go along. Anyways, I don't seem to forget the bad stuff. I only forget the good stuff, apparently, but that's okay.
The miracle of a beer memory.
That's it. Now I almost drooled right there a little bit. You can't say beer live on the podcast. It turns me into a different type of person. I'm Irish, so there's really nothing I can do except be a little bit turned on. You just said beer. I just let you know. It's still early here.
It's almost beer o'clock.
To look forward to. It is. It's always beer o'clock. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I love it. Look, interestingly, and I've mentioned this on the pod before, when I shop on Amazon myself personally now, and I do a lot of shopping on Amazon, because between Amazon, Mercado Libre, and Coppel, which is also a marketplace here in Mexico, a very popular marketplace here in Mexico, that's like the 3 top retail e-commerce merchants in this country, and they're all 3 marketplaces. And what's interesting about that is that I'm a Prime member, so I get all the movies and the TV and everything else, but I also often will get free shipping if I filter by Prime. And the 2 filters that I always filter by first when I search for something are Prime, 4 stars or above. That's the first 2 things I do. For every single query I do, that's the first 2 things I do. I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure that is a very common first 2 steps that most people take, because who wants to buy something that's got less than 4 stars? If it let me do 4.5 stars and above, I'd do that. but it doesn't let me. It only lets me
Yeah.
do 4 stars and above. And
Yeah.
so the reality is, I think that ratings and reviews working together are such a strong value prop portion of Amazon that being able to manage those well as a merchant feels like table stakes. If you want to win on Amazon, that feels like absolute bare bones table stakes. You got to win. You got to win on the ratings and reviews game. Otherwise, you might as well pull the pin and go to a different channel.
That's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head. Amazon, really, the review is the core of Amazon, right? And what I always tell people is next time you go to Amazon, think about make a conscious decision to figure out where you look. And I can promise you that the minute you click on something, you go and you look at the reviews. It's instant. You
Yep.
might not realize it, but as a consumer, that's what we do. Is you want to go. And once again, if you're not doing a search like you do, if I see something at 3.6, I go, nah, it must not be a good product. I don't need to look at the reviews because I have to assume there's some opinions that are being happening there. I could look at it real quick if I wanted to, but most people that I know are doing some kind of a search thing. So a lot of those people don't even get seen. So if you're below a 4.0, that's a problem and you got to somehow fix that. That either A can be a problem with the product, which we don't come in and remove reviews that people have problems with the product, right? If it's you got a terrible product, what I tell people is this is when you launch a product on Amazon, just know that not everybody's going to love it. If you get to a certain point, you're going to get bad reviews. Like you just have to be comfortable with that. If that causes if you get one bad review and you're up all night and you're beating your kids and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, don't be kids, by the way. That's my PSA. Don't be kids. But if it really causes you tons of stress, then Amazon's not the place for you because it's like anything. When you put it out there for the public, out of 1,000 people, you're going to have people that don't like it. That is what it is. And so for me, we don't look, those reviews are like that. That's like, you want to iterate. If I launched a product 10 years ago, I can promise you that's not the same product that I have today. So those reviews that were originally written, those do start to weigh a little less because Amazon understands that. We're going to iterate, we're going to build new products, do new things. So what we look at is we look at the reviews that violate Amazon's guidelines, that mentioning cussing's in a review, mentions competitors, pricing, anything FBA related. So if something got shipped late, broken or used, those are the main things that we focus on, right? If you have a review that just says, hey, this is a crappy product and it leaks and all this, and we have 18 reviews that say it leaked, guess what? It probably leaks. That's probably something you need to take a look at, right? So there's constructive criticism that's important. As I know, it sucks to see it on an actual live platform, people see it, but that will tell you, hey, listen, there's some indicators of some things that you can improve. And then guess what? You can improve the product and or you put in some kind of a flyer or you put a QR code on how to use the product. You got to figure it out. In the beginning, when you launch, you assume it's perfect and you're in this world. And then guess what? Then consumers come at it and say, there's a hole here and you got to figure this out. And great, you got to do that. And so that's what we realized was like, hey, listen, we're not here to just remove any reviews. We're here to remove reviews that are clearly against Amazon's own rules. And that's the reason why we've had so much success. We have 600 brands we work with and we removed over 14,000 reviews. So that is a lot of reviews on Amazon.
And to your point, not all bad reviews are bad. Meaning that I think how a brand, how a merchant, how a seller manages and handles those reviews can make or break the brand too. For example, even after I've filtered for 4 stars, then when I'm actually in the reviews, then I filter by first by 1 star. I look at all those. Then by 2 stars, I go through all those because they always have some. It's unrealistic to expect that everybody's going to have 100% 4 star reviews. It's ridiculous. So I'll filter by those stars. And I'll tell you what, I respect brands that respond to negative
Yeah.
reviews and they say, hey, look, we apologize. We've reached out to you via email or we've reached out to you via Amazon message. We want to fix this, or thank you for the feedback. We realize that the product has this issue. We're already working on it in R&D or whatever. Just the fact that they show up tells me that if I have a problem with their product,
They
they're
will
going to
show
be
up.
there to actually help me with it as opposed to ghosting me. So I actually think that negative reviews are not all bad. A negative can be turned into a positive by the brand if they give a shit. And that's the thing that matters to me the most.
And I'm with you on that. And it's funny, before I jumped into the review space and this, we used to do a lot of online reputation management. I did a lot of things for like celebrities and stuff back in the day. But the reason I'm telling you that is it's how you respond. So I wouldn't necessarily tell a celebrity, go respond to everybody that's bad mouthing you. But what you, as a consumer, you do have to, right? As a brand, you do have to. And that's very important because you need to show the human side of your brand, right? Hey, I understand that you had this issue. Obviously, the goal is to take it offline if you can, right? Because if you go back and forth with somebody, that you'll always lose in that
Yeah.
situation a high percentage of the time. But the goal is to say, hey, listen, I know, think about what they're thinking. Hey, I understand that you had this issue. We understand that, guess what? We're already looking into this. I'm sorry. Hey, guess what? When we have our new product, reach out to us. We'll send you a new one for free or whatever that is, right? Like,
Yeah.
just let them know, hey, listen, I'm listening. I understand what your pain point is. I understand what you're going through. And hey, we're working on this. Or hey, this is new to us. I'm going to go ahead and look into this and I'll reach out to you directly. What is your email address? What is your phone number? Something like that. Because that is valuable. You have to have that human factor to your business, right? Because if somebody has a bad experience, in what you just said is that's a first indicator on do they care? It
Yeah.
just is. Do you not, I don't want to respond to them because I'm not going to give them the time of day. Okay. It's not necessarily about the person who left the review as well. It's about, guess what? Jason. It's about the next guy that's going to come along and that's going to read that and he's going to say, okay, do they care? Did they explain what the deal was? You don't need to have an answer that, you don't need to always fight for your business. What I mean by that is you don't need to slam them and say something weird because then people go, wow, is this the guy that's going to be when I go and I want to return, is this the guy that's going to go off of me and tell me to F off? You got to think about that. The whole world's watching, right? Everybody has
Yes.
their thing and how are they going to respond? And so I always tell people in those situations, you got to take the emotion out of it if you can. And if you can't, then you need to wait. If you're going to write
Or
like,
you need to hire someone that can.
exactly. Somebody else that has it because I get it. I'm an emotional person. So when I see
Yeah.
something like that and they attack my baby, because I always call my brand my baby, well,
Yeah.
guess what? We take that very personally because you're like, hey, I do a good business. I take care of people. But are you going to satisfy everybody? No. I have over 600 brands that we work with. Does that mean every single one of my brands would go get the TraceFuse tattoo? Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
Let's just being realistic, right? But you can, but once again, you got to think about if the world's looking at this, how are people going to perceive it? Right. So you're going to go in and write something that's scathing and screw you and screw this, and people go, is that somebody I want to buy something from? I don't know. I understand your position. Not to mean that you have to say, yeah, this is wrong. We totally screwed up. You don't need to do that. It can be like, hey, we're going to look into this. Just figuring out at least you're answering those questions because you as a consumer say, okay, they do care, right? They're at least going to respond to me. They're not going to ghost me. They at least are going to, okay, you know what? I take that very seriously. And on Amazon, it becomes a little harder because Amazon cuts off some doors here where you can't respond and you used to be able to write comments on there. You can't do that anymore. That's another thing where sellers are like, hey, I want to give my piece and tell them, hey, I want to replace it or do something like that. And you can reach out directly. There's still that, but you can't in the public platform. Doors get closed and you got to figure out which other doors are going to open and how you're going to go after that. It's all a perception thing, but it's also how you treat your customers, even if they're saying something bad. I'll give you another example. I had a customer, this was pretty recently, that didn't give us a great review. And we were offering a gift card. We said, hey, we'll give you a gift card if you write a review. The review wasn't a 4 or 5 star. I still gave him the gift card because
Yeah.
that's what I committed to, right? Like at the end of the day, I didn't tell him go change it. I said, this is your opinion. Now I'm going to give you the gift card. And guess what? I'm definitely going to have a conversation with you and say, hey, how can we improve things? Because that's a learn for me. I don't expect, if I had all 5 star reviews and not just the most glowing reviews in the world, that's suspect. Nobody
Mhm.
has that. You just don't. That's something that's a red flag. If you see, you go to buy something, they have 1,000 reviews, that's all 5 stars. I don't even think that's possible on the Amazon
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah. It's
So
the question is, how are they gaming it at that point?
exactly, especially if it's a new product.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's all kinds of things that people do to game the system on Amazon. And trust me, I'm not gonna say I've seen it all, but I've seen a good percentage of it for sure.
Wow. And what are the mechanics of this process that you guys manage on behalf of merchants? Do they pretty much just hand the keys to the kingdom to you and you own everything review related? Or is this a scenario where you are only, for example, only owning or being responsible for like the 1, 2, and 3 star reviews? And you're like, hey, you deal with all 4 stars and above. And if you need to respond, you do whatever you need to do. What are the mechanics of when you go in and you start working with a brand on Amazon for the very first time? What is the step-by-step process that you typically follow when you onboard them into your business?
Yeah. So what the way that we do it is this is that we really our goal was to take on and look at all the reviews and assess all the reviews that violate Amazon's own rules, right? So that's our big thing. We also do take a look at fraudulent buyers accounts, we call sock puppet accounts, where maybe somebody came and is attacking your brand. And what they do is it our system detects it because we have monitoring. So if you start getting all these 1-star reviews, so we call it review velocity. So if you got 1 1-star a day, let's say, and then all of a sudden you got 10 1-stars 3 days in a row, that flags our system because unless you have 10 times the sales or it's Prime Day or Christmas or something, what we do is when we go and take a look at that, and guess what? If they happen to buy your competitors' products and they're very similar products, then we would file an escalation case with Amazon and say, hey, there's some fraud happening here. Those are one of the things that we absolutely look at. The big thing for us, most of the violations are where they cuss or they mention competitors or something. And it could be a legit review, but if you put F word or if you put the competitor's name, you can't do that. Or mention the exact price of the item. Those are all things that we can file on, right? So the way that we do it is our goal is we created TraceFuse to be a set it and forget it software, which means the minute that they go and they give us their merchant token, which is like their store ID, right? So what
Yep.
happens is we pull in all of their ASINs. Their ASINs are going to be their SKUs, right? So if you think about, I always the analogy I use, think about Target, and Target has all kinds of products inside of it, right? Same thing here. So Target being the merchant token, that's your store ID, and then all of you have your individual ASINs or SKUs that are individual products that you sell. So what happens is, let's say we grab your merchant token, we pull in, let's say 20 ASINs, right? Or SKUs, products. Great, those get pulled in. The client, all they have to do is go and activate the ASINs that they want us to go after. So what they'll do, pulls in the review count, everything. They literally click activate. This is a hero ASIN, which means a big seller for them. There's a button at the top they can activate all. So they can activate all their ASINs very easy. When I say activate, what that does, that really makes it so A, they're telling us to grab the critical reviews for those ASINs, and we run those through our AI software. And the AI, we've been using AI for about 3 years now. So it's not ChatGPT. We've actually built out our own models. And what will happen is we grab those reviews and the AI just tells us whether it's compliant with Amazon's guidelines or not. So that's our goal was in the beginning, we had humans or people taking a look at this and doing this. We finally realized, hey, this is something that AI can do. We were early on to use it. It started to do it. And guess what? Now we can go through thousands of reviews on a daily basis. And it just looks for certain keywords, right? Is it the F word, the S word? Does it have a dollar sign? Those are the types of things that we look at. We run it through there and it says, hey, this is compliant with Amazon's guidelines. We don't touch those reviews because those are compliant. Amazon's not going to remove them. And then we have the reviews that are not compliant. And what we do is we file cases on those for on the client's behalf. So the client would give us very limited access to their account. We file cases on their behalf, and they only pay for reviews that actually get removed. So there's not a lot of risk for them. We've never had any accounts that get suspended or anything like that. Once again, you activate your ASINs, even the invoicing is automated because we have a credit card on file. So we removed a review today. You obviously can see it in the back end. It'll show you exactly the review, what it used to say. And then obviously when they click on it now, it goes to a 404 page, right? Or a Dog of Amazon's page. So they'll know what it used to say. They can be able to take a look at it and they only pay for results. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. And like, what typical scale would someone either want or need to be at where they could justify investing in a service like yours, a platform like yours? Do they need to be doing 100,000 a month? Do they need to be doing, or does it really come down to the frequency of reviews that they tend to be receiving? Because at the end of the day, if you're only getting one review a day or something like that, you can probably handle that manually. If you're getting 15, 20, 50 reviews a day, that starts to become very
Yeah.
onerous and almost impossible to manage manually.
Yeah. The thing for us, what I always tell people is it's better to be proactive than reactive. So our monitoring program, if you don't have a lot of critical reviews, that's a great time to sign up, right? Because at the end of the day, because we go and clean up your ASINs, guess what? If you've been selling for 10 years and you have 10,000 critical reviews, there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen there. There's a lot of people there can be a substantial cost there to be able to do that, right? So if you don't have a lot of critical reviews, it's a perfect time because guess what? We're going to monitor those moving forward. And now if somebody attacks you or something happens, we're going to look at those reviews and we're going to be filing cases on it. So I tell people like, listen, really any time is a good time. There's obviously certain things that if you just drop down from like a 4.3 to a 4.2, you lose that half a star rating. So now it only shows 4 stars. Those are the types of things where people come to me and they go, hey, that drop from a 4.3 to a 4.2, you can lose anywhere from 10 to 50% of your sales because of that. It's that big of a change. And so what happens, people come to us at that time and go, oh crap, we just dropped down to a 4.2. What can you do? Guess what? We only file so many cases and we're not removing like 50 reviews overnight. This is a process where we're filing cases, waiting for Amazon to respond. It's not an overnight type thing. Sometimes it can take a few days, it can take a few weeks to get reviews removed. What happens is, and what not on all, not all the time, but hey, you get attacked before Christmas or on Prime Day or before Prime Day. So it's a month before Christmas. You guys get attacked. And guess what happens? You go to reach out to Amazon to get those reviews removed and say, hey, I've been attacked. You're not going to get it figured out till January or February. Guess what? You
Mhm.
just lost out on the biggest time of the year. So the analogy I use for people is if you sell sweatshirts, right? You have your brick and mortar, and this neighbor, they open up a brick and mortar and they sell sweatshirts, and you guys both shut down the same time. Then guess what? This guy kicks in your window and steals all your inventory. And then guess what? You go order more inventory and it doesn't come till after Christmas. Guess who wins? Your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem, is this monitoring. It's not just, let's see if you get a bad review. It's like you can get attacked. And there's certain categories like supplements and beauty and pet. These are all smaller items, high profit margins, and also the lifetime value of these is extremely high, right? You're looking at a situation where you have a lifetime value of somebody buying dog food, where they're going to buy it if your dog's 10 years old and you're doing it once a month. That's a high end client, right? And that could be worth thousands of dollars. And so these guys will come and buy your products. They'll give you a 1-star review because they bought your product. They're a verified purchaser, and they'll give you a 1-star review, and that will eventually start tanking your BSR, your bestseller ranking, or even your star ratings.
Wow. And what percentage, like just finger in the air, I know you can't give specifics because it's going to depend on the merchant, it's going to depend on the product, the ASIN, etc. What percentage, in your estimation, of these negative reviews that you get removed, what percentage are legit reviews versus a competitor trying to submarine your brand or your product?
Man, that's a great question. So it depends on the category. Once again, as I was saying, like supplements as an example, on the US platform is very aggressive. So in those situations, I would say a high percentage of the thing that's are happening in there are competitors.
Wow.
Now, if you had supplements like in the UK or Canada, not quite as aggressive. Now, not as much competition either. Not quite as aggressive. I have clients because some of our biggest clients are supplements. I'm talking big clients. And they didn't think this was even possible. And the fact that we're able to remove these reviews, they're making a lot of money, obviously. And so the reviews that what we charge them with the reviews, they love it because obviously at the end of the day, we're cleaning this up. When they get attacked, we automatically clean it up and it keeps their sales. These guys, some of them make hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. You
Yeah.
have to realize it's $1 billion industry on Amazon. So they don't mind the monitoring. They love the fact that we're able to go in and get those reviews removed because guess what? There's a high percentage of these are people attacking you, right? And
Yes.
so that was the premise of our program. If you got a bad product, hey, you got to figure it out. If you got a great product and you're being attacked, we want to even the playing field, right? We want to be able to say, hey, listen, it sucks. And there's some other companies that doesn't make sense to hire us because their profit margins are real thin, right? If you sell a bike brake and it's $30 and you only make $10 on it and they only need one every 7 years, that's probably not going to make sense to hire us in theory, right? Maybe it does make sense if you want to clean up the listing and you want to sell the business. That could make sense. Most of the stuff that we file on are going to be things that violate Amazon's own guidelines, the own rules, because people can write a great, thorough review. But if you drop pricing, you drop competitor, you drop the F bomb, you drop the S bomb, you do any of those things, that makes it so your whole review can be removed. So that's the leverage that we look at. Is it could be a legit review. Even if it talks about the truth of the program, the truth of their products, we can still go after that and get that removed. But really what we like to focus on is the ones that are where you're being attacked, right? Where they're doing black hat tactics or doing things to really mess up your brand. You have to realize like this is how people feed their family. Like we
Mhm.
take this very seriously because that's puts foods on people's plates, and these big companies that have billions of dollars, or I'm not saying they're hiring people to do this, but somebody's doing it, right? It's happening. And so it's from an ethical standpoint, it just drives me crazy because it's just not the way to do business. And it's like there's just do it the old fashioned way. Like you go in, you build your business and you just build it up and there's enough money for everybody. You don't need 7 Ferraris. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
from the
yeah.
research I've done.
Just build the biggest building in town. Don't tear every other building down around you. I think
Yeah, be a good
Gary
person.
V's Gary V's fond of using that metaphor. I think. But and how do you guys make? You said you charge for successfully removed
Yeah.
reviews. that effectively we don't charge you until we make sure and we can prove that we've got this review removed. What kind of cost are we typically looking at per removed review, or does it scale? If I'm getting 100 reviews removed a month, then presumably what I pay per review might be different if I'm getting one removed a month.
Yeah. So the way that we do is because it's performance driven, we charge $250 for every review that we successfully remove. So what that means is if we file whatever 10, 20, 30 cases and no reviews get removed, then the client doesn't pay. So what we look at, we have about depending on what category, but we have about a 10% success rate. So what that means is if you see 100 critical reviews, you know that we're going to be able to remove about 10 of them over time. Now, in other categories, supplements, pet, beauty, we can get into 15, sometimes get into 20% because there's a lot more aggression, a lot more things that happen there that what's going to nefarious stuff that happens that we can improve the success rate. At the end of the day, we don't scale necessarily. If you have, we do have some really big clients. What happens is the hard part for us is if we were to scale and give a lower price, the issue is we still put in just as much effort, right? So this is a terrible, like our success rate, people go, I can't believe you can move 10%. For me, I want to remove a lot more than that, right? I really want to even these playing fields, but you have to realize that. So if we have 100 critical reviews, if we can remove 10 of them, we're filing cases on a good percentage of those and not going to win. So it doesn't take away any work from us, right? There's still that work that happens. So when people go, hey, can I get a deep discount on whatever, let's say 100 critical reviews, I tell them, well, it's still 10 times as much work for us, right? It's still this magnitude. Now, we do have some clients that will work out something with them. They've just got copious amounts of reviews. One other thing that we've implemented, and this is for the bigger clients, is they can put a date. And this is something we just implemented about a month or two ago. So now they can put a date. So if we have just Nike as an example, because we've talked with big brands where they're like, hey, we're at a 4.7. I don't really need to go clean that up. And I don't want to spend 10, 20 grand to clean it up. So guess what? You can put the month as in 1 month ago. Guess what? Now we'll only go back 1 month and be able to do that. We do that for the bigger clients because I don't want them to have to spend that money if they don't have to. If you're already at a place that you like, because what they want is the monitoring, right? They're like, I
Yeah.
want to make sure I stay at this 4.7. If I get attacked, I want you guys knocking them out and making good things happen. And guess what? And keep us at that 4.7. So I do all the own sales calls. The reason I'm telling you that is because that's how I learn new features. That's how when we met with big clients and they're like, I don't want to go clean up my ASIN. And I'm like, I get it. I don't want you to clean up your ASIN either, even though I do like cash. But at the end of the day, I don't want you to spend your cash and send it to me if you don't need to. That doesn't make sense. I'm not that type of business owner. I'm like, I really want you to be excited about what we're doing. And the way that we've built our brand is I have people that sign up all the time that I've never even met. Oh, I talked to John Smith. I don't know John Smith, but it's because we built a brand that people know that we're going to treat them right. And then I'm not here to screw them over, try to take advantage of them or anything like that. My goal is to say, hey, you're going to tell 10 people if we do something amazing for you. If I rip you off, guess what's going to happen? I'll be shut down in a few months. Like you can't do that kind of stuff. And that it's not an ethical way to treat your customers. So for our customers, we're constantly trying to figure out, hey, how can we improve this thing? And the date thing was something we've done. You also talked about earlier, you touched on, you didn't know this, that I was going to bring this up, but the ROI side of things. And hey, how do we know what the ROI is? We literally have a calculator that's coming out in about 2 weeks. We had one calculator where you could see approximately how many critical reviews need to be removed to get you the next star rating. Now we're actually going to have, I don't know what we're going to call it. It's either like an ROI calculator. We're calling it a super calculator internally now. But what it is, you can put in your ASIN, you can put in what the revenue is, you can put in how many units you sell, and it'll tell you a breakdown that, hey, to get you and you can toggle over, I want to get from a 4.2 to a 4.3. And what it'll do, it'll say, hey, we have to remove approximately 10 reviews at $250. That's $2,500. And with your current revenue and how many units you are selling, you will break even after 1.5 months. And then after 6 months, you will make an extra $15,000. And then guess
Wow.
what? I go, no brainer. Of
Yeah.
course I want to do it. Most people that sign up now, they just sign up because they know they have to remove negative reviews, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
there's nobody else can do it like we can because we are the only company. We're the ones who paved the way to make this happen. So then people are like, I just know I need it. Now, I always wanted to make better decisions, right? Like I said, I don't mind you just sending me cash because I do appreciate cash. But really, at the end of the day, I want you to make an educated decision, right? I want you to make a decision based off of facts and numbers. So
Yep.
when they put that in there, we have AI that can just give them some numbers if they don't put in their specifics, like exactly how many units and everything. But if they can give us the specific numbers, we can spit that out and say, hey, this is approximately how much money you're going to spend. And this is approximately when you're going to break even. Because that's what we want to know. right?
Yeah.
Like with any service, it's great. I don't mind spending 10 grand as long as I'm going to get my 10 grand back. And when is that going to happen? And what are we
Yeah.
looking at here? So they're all approximations, but they're at least gives you a more educated decision. So you can make those decisions, pick the right ASINs. The other value to this thing is too, you can go in and pick ASINs. You can activate and deactivate whenever you want. So if you have an ASIN that you're going to discontinue it in a month, you can deactivate with us. Guess what? There we go. We're no longer going to be filing cases on it anymore, right? So you have full function. And the back end, literally all they do is activate and deactivate. And then the invoicing is automatic. And once a review gets removed, we just run their credit card. They get an update saying, hey, we just got a review removed. There we go. Because if you're an Amazon seller, you got 10 million other things to worry about. Growth, PPC, inventory, tariffs, like nobody, and reviews are the most, I would say the most important. I might be a little biased, but they are the most important because you can have all the inventory in the world and you can fight tariffs and do all this stuff. But if you got a 3.6, guess what?
You
Jason's not
ain't
going to
selling
find you.
anything. You ain't selling
Jason's not
anything.
going to find you. Yeah. And the other thing is, if you're below a 4.0, your PPC, you can't do as much. Your costs go a lot higher with your PPC because Amazon doesn't think you have a great product. There's so many effects where you're at in the BSR, which is obviously you want to get close to you can as a one. That's the number one seller in certain categories. It affects everything, and people don't realize that. I don't think that it's like Amazon sellers do, but when you write a review, I'm not saying I'll only write good reviews, but at the end of the day, it really does affect the business. It's not just a small thing. It actually affects a number of different things for the business. Be nice if you had a bad day, be nice to the people that own these products. If it's a terrible product, say your piece. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you've prompted something for me even. I oftentimes don't leave reviews at all, good or bad. So I should definitely probably make more of an effort where the product and the service has been outstanding. Then I should probably make more of an effort to actually go back and say, okay, this was great, product's great, delivery was fast, product as described, all that sort of stuff. Give them a bloody 4 stars and or 5 stars or whatever the highest rating is, and make their day.
See, and I even before we started doing TraceFuse, I grew up in the service industry, so in restaurants, right? So like early
So
on, I
did
was a
I. That was
buster,
my
like
first career.
15. I loved it, and I worked at Chevy's Mexican restaurant. The reason I'm telling you that was we had service beyond expectation, so that was always ingrained in my head. And so for me, I look at things and I go, okay, we got to do the right thing. We got to do the right thing by people. And so that's always been my thing from the beginning is like, how do you take care of people and do the right thing? And so that's always been like the core of what I do is I always want to help people. That's always been my big thing. And money comes and we have this and that. I get that. Money's not important to me as it is like treating people right and making sure good things happen. And so that was instilled in me, like I said, in a very young age. And it's like, what can we do to make things right? And once again, to keep people happy. And that's always been my MO, my mantra.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. I
Yeah.
love that. And have you ever worked with a customer that had no negative reviews or had no negative reviews that qualified to be removed? Or is this pretty much a universal challenge, almost regardless of scale of your business, that you will have, even if you've only been in business for 3 months, it is highly likely you will have at least one negative review that falls afoul and can be removed?
You will. At the end of the day, you will. What happens is this is so if you're a brand new company, you're just launching on Amazon, obviously we can help you to monitor moving forward, a great solution. But at the end of the day, the more that you sell and the more that you go up in the BSR, people start to see you, the more visibility, the more sales you're going to get people that are unhappy. I'm not saying that everybody will get attacked, but you can get attacked. People can write a crazy review. Somebody could have just broke up with their wife and got your product and hates your product, but they really just hate their wife. You get my point. We're humans, right? There's
Yeah.
certain things that play into this whole thing. I will tell people that listen, if you, as I touched on earlier, if reviews scare you, and if I get a bad review, I'm going to like spiral and be in bed for a week, don't go to Amazon. Don't go
Yeah.
any place where people can add their public opinion to things that you've created. At the end of the day, everybody's going to have a negative review. You just will. Now, with that being said, when you don't have a lot of critical reviews, the good thing is, I'll give you an example. So let's say you have 10 critical reviews, right? And you're at let's say, a 4.0, and you want to get to a 4.2. Guess what? If we remove, let's say, one or two of those, you could jump back up, right? Because that's the value of it. Because we move 10%, let's say we move 20%, that's 2 reviews. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 20% of all your negative reviews. Let me give you another scenario. Your Nike has, let's say, 1,000 critical reviews. Guess what? If we want to remove 20% of those, what's that number?
Well, it's
200.
going to be 200. Yeah.
So guess what? 200 times 250 is a lot more expensive than 2 reviews times 250, right? So
Yeah.
my point
Yeah.
is, If the earlier on that you sign up with us and then we can protect you, you don't have all this stuff that we're going to have to go clean up, right? Because now you're being proactive. We can knock them out as they come, right? Stupid analogy. Let's say you're mowing a lawn, right? You don't mow a lawn for 6 months. You got through your lawnmower. It's going to be hell, right? It's going to be absolutely terrible. If you mow your lawn once a week, it's not as bad. So what we're doing is we're keeping up on that maintenance for you and you don't have to worry about it. That's going to be perfect. Now, once again, if you're a big brand and you have a lot of reviews, there's certain things that we've done to be able to help them. We don't have to go back to when that ASIN was created. A lot of companies want us to do that because they want to clean up those reviews. But if you don't, we're here to accommodate. And if you got a lot of critical reviews, my calculators are going to be able to help you to be able to say, okay, what do I need to do to get up to the next star rating? And if you are Nike and you're selling a ton of shoes, that $50,000 sounds like a lot, but guess what? If you're doing $1 million in sales and you just drop down to 500,000, that $25,000 is going to be nothing to get that back up to where you need to be sales wise. So that's the other thing. It might sound like a hefty chunk of change, but at the end of the day, if your sales just got cut in half and you're now at $500,000 when you're usually at $1 million a month, would you spend $25,000 to get back up at $500,000? Like, I'm not really good with math, but I'm pretty sure the answer would be a hot yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No question, no question about it. It makes total sense. And what what is next for you guys in terms of features, functions? Is there anything you don't do today that your customers are asking for that you say, look, we don't do this today, but come back to me in 6 months, we probably will? What are areas of your business that you see expansion opportunities? Is it going and working with other platforms like the Mercado Libres of the world, the other marketplace platforms other than Amazon? Is it taking over other elements of the management of their account that you say, look, this is an adjacency that makes sense for us to own because it feeds directly into the
Mhm.
reviews aspect of the business? Where do you see opportunity?
Yeah. Great question. So there's a few things. So historically, as I told you, I just turned 50 this last weekend. The old Shane. So we always joke around about Shane 1.0, Shane 2.0. I think I'm on Shane 5.0 now, which is not, I'm not saying it's a better version. I'm just telling you that I'm getting older, I guess is really what I'm saying. So Shane 1.0 was like, hey, we got to branch out. We got to do this. We got to do this and have this and add these features. What I've done, which has been very difficult for me because I'm like a Mr. ADHD and grow bigger and there's no second, third gear. I'm in fourth and fifth gear. I wake up like this. Like it's not people. When I was young, a little kid, people thought I was on drugs all the time because I was a skinny little wiry kid and I just would talk all the time. And they're like, say no to drugs. And I was like the poster child at that time. So the reason for telling you that is there's so many other things that we can do. Like when we started the company, we actually used to do Amazon consulting and all kinds of other things. And I've actually condensed it down because I've told 1,000 businesses, hey, you're doing too much, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't listen myself, right? I was always like, when I was younger, it's like, oh, you need a website? We didn't create a website. I'll do a website for you. Yeah, not a problem at all. Well, what I
Yeah.
realized is most of the time I'm losing money because I'm jumping into things I shouldn't be doing. Now, older Shane is, hey, I'll find people for those positions. Like
Niching down is a superpower, and I agree.
it it is, and it is so hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So the reason I'm telling you that, we have 600 brands that we work with. There's 1.9 million sellers in the Amazon space, and we have 600 brands. So it's like we're the
It's not
only
like you're missing out on opportunity here. Meaning that there's no lack of opportunity here.
no, God, there's so many people that need our services. And that's the thing is like we're the only company that could do it like this, literally the only company. But yet we have this much opportunity. So I have to wake up every day and go, dude, don't try to do anything else. Don't add on any more features, bro. You got to just breathe and focus on this. So niching down has been very difficult for me. Now, with that being said, I do have another software company that we had talked about creating. It's just my medicine. Apparently, my medication is not working as much as it should because I'm doing other things. We are looking at maybe branching out into opening another software company that would branch out and really work on like Yelp reviews and Google and all that. We started with Amazon. I didn't know it was going to be the hardest platform, but I can tell you, if anybody listening to this, Amazon is the hardest platform to remove reviews. I will tell you that hands down. I know plenty of other people in the other spaces. It's not as crazy. Amazon is very difficult. And when I would talk to sellers, when I first started the business, I would say, hey, we can remove negative reviews. They'd go, no, you can't. I've tried. I've been an Amazon seller for 15 years. There's no way you can. You click the report button, they won't do it. And so I dealt with a lot of that in the beginning. I was like, no, we spent 2 years figuring this out. Like, we've got it figured out. And I was like, no, you don't. You just can't do that because it's only black hat stuff. And I'm like, no, like I put my face on the company because I want people to Google me, taught at UCLA. I'm not going to go mess up my whole brand that I spent way too much money on to come and try to screw you out of $250. Like to me, it was like I put my face in the company, not because I want people to know who I am, but because I want them to know that this is serious. So this isn't a company in China that's doing some black hat stuff that I go and I pick up the money in a briefcase and I jump in a black van with tinted windows and I got to drive out of there with the cash. This is a legit business that we're helping people. So that was a big barrier in the beginning because it was like people didn't think it was possible. And now they're like 14,000 reviews. There's no way you did that. So I don't know. I couldn't win and I did 0 and now I can't win at 14. But I'm telling you, it's happening and good things are happening.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely amazing. Look, it's been an amazing conversation, and I didn't know half the stuff you taught because, like I said, I'm not deep in the Amazon ecosystem. How does this work when we think about 1P versus 3P? Meaning that presumably you can only work with 3P sellers that you have direct access to their account and you can file on their behalf. But what happens if Amazon is selling your product in a 1P capacity? You're starting to get some negative reviews on the products. You are responsible for the ASINs. What happens in those scenarios?
Yeah. So what happens in those scenarios is that we just can't do anything FBA related, right? So if Amazon ships out the product, FBA being that Amazon ships it out, and there's something once again broken, used, or something like that, then or it takes a long time for them to receive the product, we can go back to Amazon and say, hey, file a case saying, hey, this was not a problem with the product, it was a problem with shipping or is broken or somebody in the warehouse. Great. Now, if a company ships out their own products or if they ship it out through a third party, then it just takes away the being able to file on the FBA side of things because we can't go, hey, Amazon, this other company shipped this out and this is your fault. Amazon's going to go, nah, no, it's not. Right. So what happens there is if you ship the product out, then we can't file on it being late. And that's even if it was United States Postal Service or whatever that was, that still falls back on the owner. If we give the product to Amazon and Amazon, there's a mistake there, that falls on Amazon. So it just gives us one less avenue to be able to pursue cases. But once again, whether you sell it out of this warehouse or this warehouse, somebody uses the F word, guess what? We can file on that and we can get those removed.
Wow, amazing, amazing. This has been an education for me. I'm not an Amazon expert by any stretch of the imagination, so I rely on people like you to give me the education. I super appreciate it. If people want to get a hold of you, I will drop a link to your LinkedIn profile and your website into the show notes. Other than that, how do you like people to reach out to you and chat all things review management for Amazon?
Yeah, yeah. So you guys can obviously we'll drop the link for the LinkedIn. You guys can follow me on LinkedIn. I do I'm posting probably 40 pieces of content a month on LinkedIn. I've got I think almost 1 million impressions last month. So anyways, I'm impressed with that myself because I usually started off real slow and now we're taking off. So you can go there and ask questions there. I'll give you my email too. It's just Shane@tracefuse.ai. So it's SHANE@TRACEFUSE.ai. So you can reach out to me there, send me emails, and then obviously the website, tracefuse.ai. And then my main website is shanebarker.com. So it's SHANEBARKER.com. So you guys can reach out at any time. And I'm also going to give you guys that we have a free tool that actually advise or would hope that all sellers would try to use first. It's an Amazon review checker. And so what means is that they can go in and click it, put in their ASIN, and they'll actually get a report on how many of the reviews are against Amazon's guidelines, and they can file those with Amazon. So that's a free tool. We don't charge for that. Once again, my goal is for you not to have to give me money, which I know sounds counterintuitive as an entrepreneur, but my goal is if they can go and get that report and go and file it with Amazon and get those reviews removed, don't need us, that would make me very, very happy. So they can use that tool. Once again, it's absolutely free. They file on it. If they can't get them removed, guess what? There's a company called TraceFuse and an owner called Shane Barker that would love to take on the business.
Love it. Love it. I see that on the website. Just go to the website, tracefuse.ai, second button to the right from the home button, Amazon review checker, pop in your ASIN or ASIN URL, and you're off to the races to get that checked out free of charge. So we'll
That is
point them
it.
there. We'll make sure that gets added to the show notes. Now, as we do come down to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you. I get to let you ask me one question, any question you like. It can be personal or professional. So Mr. Shane Barker from TraceFuse, what is your question for me today?
So I want to know about you live in, was it Pueblo or Puebla?
Puebla City, Mexico. Ciudad de Puebla. Yep.
So how long have you lived there and how do you like living there? Because I used to, like I think I told you, I went to school in Costa Rica 100 years ago now or something like that. But yeah, I like the Latin culture and just the music and the food and everything. So I'm literally asking you because I want to come visit you. So this is more of a personal thing, but tell me about the city that you live in.
Luckily, you're in luck because we have a spare bedroom. The reason we bought a 3-bedroom house was not because we have kids, but because we want to be able to have guests. We have the master bedroom, the office, and 1 bedroom, which is where I'm dialing in from, and then we have a spare bedroom for guests. So you're more than welcome. The door is open anytime, first of all. Second of all, we absolutely love living here. We came to Mexico in 2023, early 2023, February of 2023. We spent all of 2023 driving all around Mexico. We did almost 20,000 kilometers driving around Mexico, exploring the
Wow.
country, staying in places for several weeks at a time that we thought might be on our short list of places we might want to live. And then at the end of that, funnily enough, Pueblo was actually not even on our original short list of 5 or 6 places that we thought we might want to live. We were transiting through Puebla on our way from Mexico City to Oaxaca, and we stayed here overnight one night. And we were so impressed by the city. We were so blown away by how beautiful it was, by how there were elements there. It's a really interesting mix. Half the city is old and colonial, half the city is new, skyrise, brick, tile, steel. It's
I
gleaming
love it.
skyscrapers and everything else. So it has a little bit of the best of the old world and the best of the new world
Yeah.
all wrapped into one city, separated by bridges going over a river. And so we really loved it. But we had 6 months when we got to Pueblo. We still had 6 months to go on our travels, and so we
Mm.
said, okay, we think this is a place we could live. We went out to lunch as we were leaving town. Both of us looked at each other at exactly the same time and said, I think we could live here. This feels really cool. And we were on the same page, my wife and I. And the only way we found the new side of the city, it was purely by chance, maybe not, don't know.
Yeah.
But we were actually taking our dog to a dog park, and the dog park happened to be because he had been in the car all day. And so
Mm.
we went over a bridge to take our dog to the dog park, and we're like, is this a different city? Because that looks totally different to the other side of the bridge.
Yeah.
And we loved it. We thought it was impressive. We said at the end of our 6 months, if we still think we love it as much as we do now, we'll come back, we'll rent here, we'll get an Airbnb here, and we'll stay here for a couple of months, see if we really like it, which
Yeah.
we did. We went out to Cholula, we rented an Airbnb, we stayed there for 2 months. So that's how we came to be here, and we absolutely love living here. It's very similar to Southern California in terms of weather. We're at
Mm.
2,000 meters of elevation, so
Mhm.
it doesn't really get extremes of heat or cold here. Goes anywhere from about 15°C to 30°C max,
Wow.
and we get very little rain here. It's very dry, but we don't get the humidity here because of the elevation. And we just love food, the people, the culture, the weather. We just and easy access to the U.S. I got lots of clients in the U.S. I speak at lots of conferences in the U.S., so it's easy to just hop across the border. We've got an international airport here in Puebla. If it doesn't service the destination we want to go to, it's a 2-hour bus ride to Mexico City. We can fly out from Mexico City anywhere in North America, and it's just easy, and we love it. We love the lifestyle.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, like I said, I used as a kid growing up, we went to Mexico obviously quite often, and I love Mexico. Anyways, I just I so anybody that's in Mexico, I'm just always intrigued about what cities they found and why they found them. And once again, I just the people and the culture and the food, I'd be 300, 800 pounds or something. I don't even know. Like the food is just amazing. I know that firsthand. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys found a city that you guys are calling home. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and can't wait to speak to you again soon. Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.